So for our next guest, he's the son of the owner of MC Corporation and his business is almost 4 years now. And he also studied in States. Please help me welcome Mr. Markel Badon. Hi sir, good evening. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me tonight.
How about your business sir? Is it fine?
Despite of the pandemic that we are facing right now, I am still very thankful that my business is moving well.
That's nice sir. I hope you will have more branches here. So can you explain to us what is individual influence on ethical behavior?
What defines bad behavior from good behavior is that ethics. Ethical behavior is characterized by honesty, fairness, integrity, and other positive traits. Individually, we differ in our behavior, so behaves differently.
Sir, how about what are the influences that affect individual ethics of behavior? Can you share to us your thoughts or ideas about this?
Ethics is formed starting from early childhood and continue until a person becomes adult. There are several factors that influences individual ethical behavior. There are 9 factors in all. 1 is stages of moral development. 2. Personal values and moral. 3. Personal influences. 4. Peer influence. 5. Next factor is life experiences. And 6. Next factor is social norms. 7. Upbringing. 8. Religious beliefs, and the last is laws. These factors greatly affects that and influence individual ethical behavior.
For our next guest, her business is almost 6 years now. She started only with 5,000 pesos, then now she earns 6 to 7 digits monthly. She had some badges in malls where you can buy. Please help me welcome the owner of Maxine Bakes, Miss Regine Mandumento. Hello, Miss Regine. I received the cakes and dessert yesterday. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Mr. Wilfredo. I'm glad that you like it. Next time, I will give you something again.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Miss Regine. So, Miss Regine, can you tell us what are the 2 main situational factors that could influence ethical behavior and decision making?
Okay, so in situational influences on ethical behavior, there are 2 main situational factors that could influence ethical behavior and decision making. Issue related is the importance of the decision to the decision maker. Moral intensity is one of the situational factor. So in moral intensity, the higher the intensity, the more likely it is that the decision maker will make an ethical rather than an ethical decision. Make an ethical decision rather than an ethical decision. For instance, a person promised his friend in the midst of an emotional disturbing situation is also seeking guidance. In the process of deciding who to prioritize between the 2 challenging ethical demands, moral intensity is the big factor. Again, moral intensity is a big factor. Moral intensity is the amount that people observe an issue as an ethical one. There are 5 influences on moral intensity, include magnitude of consequences, the social consensus, temporal immediacy, proximity, and concentration of effect. So first is the magnitude of consequences. It is the sum of the harm or benefits that could be impacted as the consequences of a given action. Second is the social consensus. It is the degree that members of the society approve that an act is either good or bad, and the possibility of effect is the increase and decrease of moral intensity based on how likely people consider the results. So next is the temporal immediacy. It is the distance between the time an action happens and the start of consequences of the soonest and the results of any effect are likely to take place. Proximity refers to the emotional intimacy the decision maker feels those disturbed by decisions. So next is the concentration of effect. It is to whether the effect is focused on a few people or may affect a lot of people in a small extent. Another illustrative case in the disagreement on the principles of professional code of ethics faced by building constructors who are mostly engineers and architects. Most often in the construction industry, the conflict is between the safety and welfare of the public and working within the budget of the contract. Engineers and architects find themselves trapped in these competing ethical demands. Once more, the moral intensity of the situation is a significant consideration. The situation becomes more challenging when it is expensive to consider the impact of the project to the public. Thus, the pressure is more remarkable. Within the issue, the moral intensity is always associated in values. People with different value systems may have a very different opinions of the moral intensity of a dispute. For example, individuals who appreciate the environment as valuable may regard the decreasing number of trees due to deforestation as high moral intensity issue, while those people who do not consider too much cutting of trees as unethical will just ignore the topic, except when they become the victims of the consequences.
How about this, Ms. G? What is the moral framing in its perceived threats?
Framing is a frame of reference or point of view that refers to the way people look at a given situation. How a person views that situation can affect his appreciation of the facts and may affect how he determines right from wrong. A big problem in moral framing is the use of language, in which moral issues may be made to appear harmful or if it described in a certain manner. The power of framing is not what is being said, but how it is said. So sometimes it might have an even stronger effect on reasoning.
Our next guest already have 7 branches in the Philippines, and also she is planning to have branches in New York. She became also our guest before. Please help me welcome the owner of Hans Clothing Line, Miss Hannah or Mijekos. Good evening, Miss. Can you share to us the factors under the context-related situations?
So, ethics sometimes take consideration in what is behind an action, whether it is right or wrong. So, these are factors uses context-related situation and ethical behavior. 1. Reward. I think giving rewards and recognizing achievements can make employees and organizations happy because they are appreciated. 2. Authority. Subordinates follow the instruction or what the manager said. So if a manager creates an ethical decision, the subordinates who follow them might also affected. 3. Bureaucracy. If an organization has bureaucratic setup, employees are likely to follow rules. The more it is bureaucratic, the lower ethical decision making, and they will just depend on authority. 4. Work rules. These are the expectation of employees' works, the manner of relations to other people, and their behaviors. 5. Organizational culture. Norms of group often define the standard or satisfactory behavior in an organization. 6. National context. There will be different views in right or wrong, especially that every country have different cultures.
How about your learnings or ideas about code of ethics?
So when we say code of ethics, it is the value of statement of a company to be able to have fairness with integrity in their company. These are outlines of the laws in a company. First, employee code of conduct. So these are laws, policies, and values that employees need to follow. So my next example is the confidentiality and privacy policies. Employees need to preserve confidentiality so that no one can get their personal information. Third is the professional appearance. We all know that a company has its own dress code and policy. This can make employees look presentable and professional. Fourth is promoting green business practices. If a company following standard environmental like segregating and throwing garbage properly can help for the safety of people, animals, and also our environment. 5. Obeying the law. Employees must follow the laws of an organization to protect the company's image and to have a peaceful and successful organization. And lastly, caring and consideration policies. Companies should include that their employees should treat well the customers.
For our second to the last guest, this restaurant is known for almost 5 years. He started his business here at CDO and now he had almost 10 branches in the Philippines. Please help me welcome the owner of Miko Steiner. Are the key components of code of ethics in the business?
So there are three components of the business. Number one, legal issues. This is important because in any business organization, employees should follow local and national laws, and it needs to be documented so that if there will be a rising problem in the future, it would be easier to fix it. Number two, compliance and regulations. Once a set rules were unable to follow and is conform to the rules of the Philippines, the industries will be punished and expected to shoulder fines, penalties, and face legal action. This is why we need to always be keen and cautious to the lawmakers and abide it religiously for the benefit of everyone. Number 3. Value-based components. It is a vital component that needs to be taken in all things, and it is necessary in order to successfully accomplish the mission and vision of the company. It has 6 universal moral values that the company's employee is expected to do. And this is a must be executed willingly and wholeheartedly. So the fourth and last would be violations of the code of ethics. This needs to be addressed too, because in the code of ethics, the actions to take in cases of violation. The process. Possible disciplinary or decisions that will be decided upon the accused of wrongdoings or by not abiding the law given will be a specific violation and must be clearly stated. So the disciplinary action will be identified and be sure that it is fairly and just for the violator.
The universal moral values that companies expect of their employees. Can you tell us what are these?
Universal moral values that employers, rather all of us need to embody. First, trustworthy. As an employee or an individual, we must possess this value in order for a company to trust us and let us prove our honesty and loyalty to them. Second, respectful. What is being showed or given will reflect you and your group. This is why you must respect everyone, even the laws, least, and the last of the society we are in. Third, responsible. By being able to do the task and show that you have an initiative to do what is required and to exceed their expectations. Fourth, fair. This is crucial because in an organization, no one should feel left behind or less favored with it to surely affect the performance and might be the reason or can cause time for an employee to quit. Fifth, caring. Like a mother to his or her child, this must be done too, in all aspects, especially those who are lost and is expected to be in the very need of care. To be able to build a relationship in the organization, this must be stabilized. Lastly, good citizen. This is the most important, not only in business but in our daily life, as an individual, as a human being. If you have this and if you will embody this and live with it, for sure, all the remaining 5 universal moral values will follow.
No other than the owner of T4Life, Miss Marian Dial. Hello Miss, good evening. Let's start with this. Can you tell us what is the value-based code of ethics?
Thank you for that wonderful question, Mr. Wilfredo. Well, a value-based code of ethics is one of the types of code of ethics. It addresses a company's core value system. It may outline standards of responsible conduct as they relate to the large public good and environment. Value-based ethical codes may require a greater degree of self-regulation than compliance-based codes. Especially to our class advisor, Ma'am Arabis, good evening. So tonight, I will talk to you about the Code of Conduct. So Code of Conduct governs our action. So a Code of Conduct defines how a company employees should act on everyday basis. It also contains definite behavior that are necessary or banned as a condition of continuous engagement in the work. So in order to gain the definite behavior and to make a great code of conduct, we should consider these characteristics. First one is written for the readers. So, the code of conduct should be written for the readers, which means we should write our code of conduct in layman's terms so that they could understand it easily, read easily, and memorize. Comprehensive. The second one is comprehensive. It should be more informative and contains with the significant details and answer common questions. The third one must be supported by the leader or supported by leadership. So it should be approved and signed by the CEO or the Chief Executive Officer of the company. The fourth one is accessible. So it should be available to all the employees, current investors, and potential investors. We can post it on our website so that they can easily find it and read it. The last one is visually appealing. So it should be clean, written in formal layout, and it should be readable. So dili ka naggagmay, naging kayo naggagmay. Na po na mabasa, especially sa mga elderly, di ba? Naman tayo mga, or especially sa kanang mga daot na ugmata, kay usually bisag dili pa, karon bisag dili pa, kanang taas-taas og edad, daot na ugmata. Para wala excuse, nga moingon nga, oy, sayop man ay magibuhat, moingon din na, wala lagi ko kabasa. O, di ba? Dapat kuan, readable sizes. Di ba, inanan bagid ang mga Pilipino. Moingon din, wala ko kabasa, naadi ay. So, there are a lot of examples of code of conduct. Maghatag og example sa school. 'Di ba? Na ata ginatawag nga school handbook. Dinha mao na siya ang code of conduct sa mga students sa school. Or mao na siya ang code of conduct sa school sa student, ana di ay. So it contains the mission, vision of the school, the goals of the school, the core value of the school, and all, as well as their policies. So, na ginatawag nga employees handbook, mao na siya ang code of conduct sa company sa employees. Na contains gyapon na siya og mission, vision, the goals of the company, and also the policies.
This ends our show. I hope you learned something from our guest. Thank you for watching and listening. This is Wilfredo Samulia, your host for tonight. Thank you.